So this is Charlie from Red Blue Talk. My channel is all about how politics and government impact people's lives. I'm speaking with Tonia Conner-Mitchell. You are a community activist. You're active in Yonkers. You have a group called 100 Sisters and 100 Girls. You were involved a couple of years ago with Black Lives Matter movement in Westchester. So you are an on-the-ground kind of person that understands what's going on. I want to talk to you about the incident that happened on Monday, April 27, just about a week ago, at the ShopFair supermarket in Getty Square. So, tell me, it was in the Daily News, it was in the Post, it was in Low HUD, and it's a striking story because a couple of guys suspected of shoplifting wound up in a huge brawl involving the people that work in the store. That is a quick summary. What makes this story remarkable is that there was someone there with a video camera, captured the whole thing. There's an 11-minute video. I'm not going to play it back right now. I've seen it a couple of times. And candidly, it's sickening. It's dehumanizing. I'd rather not watch it again. I'll put the link below so folks that are hearing about this story for the first time can look if they want to.
Right.
But what I want to talk to you about, Tonia, is the human story, understanding people's lives on the ground, what this story is meaning in the community. And tell me from your perspective what happened last Monday.
Well, what happened last Monday was there were two young men, black men, who were in ShopFair in Yonkers on Main Street, and they were assaulted. Right. The thing I really want to talk about is the fact it doesn't matter if they were shoplifting, because shoplifting doesn't equal the beating that they received. That's just let's just get that over with. Let's just talk about how normally when people shoplift, they are arrested, the police are called, and that is the end of it. Right. It does not end up like the way it did with these two young men. At one point, it was like 5 to 7 of the workers of ShopFair on them, on one person. Let's talk about the one person. The video was so hard to watch because by the time Wu Ross from Yonkers Voice, by the time he pulled out his camera and started taping the video, you could see vaguely that there was another person that the workers were on top of. And then the young man started saying, "Please get off my brother, get off my brother." And he did the countdown, and then it became a melee.
So filling in a couple of facts here, one individual was arrested. To my understanding, only one individual has been arrested. No one else. Neither the other person who supposedly was shoplifting, nor any of the individuals working in the store have been arrested to this point, as far as I know.
No.
So it's just a striking situation, and folks will have to watch that video for themselves. But what does this mean? What's the perception of this? In Getty Square in Southwest Yonkers. I mean, how's it landing?
Not well at all. The community is tired of not being respected where they spend their money. ShopFair, the incident at ShopFair speaks to the culture of the hub, the culture of Getty Square, and how the owners of the stores in Getty Square treat people of color. And I want to say black people. I want to say brown people. I just want to say the community. Most of the people that live in that area are people of color, and they're not treated fairly. They're followed around stores. There was an incident in January where the owner of Scrapdex kicked a young lady who was black in the back and called her a dirty nigger. So this is happening more so than none. You know what I mean?
So you were involved when that happened, right? This is pre-pandemic. This is pre-ShopFair. This is like our old life. These things were going on. Now, step me through what the response was to that other retail incident that you just described, because that's within a couple of blocks of ShopFair, right?
Yes, down the street and around the corner.
So what happened?
Scriptex is a pharmacy and a beauty supply store, and people of color, Black people, we shop there. And the young lady was in the store. She was being followed. She repeatedly asked him, "Why are you following me? Please stop following me." And on her way out the store, she was very angry. And she knocked over, I want to say, a display that had some gloves on it. And with the store owner on her back, on her tail, following her. And as she got to the doorway, he kicked her in the back and called her a dirty little nigger. Right. So that was January.
But there was no videotape, right?
But there was no videotape.
There was no News 12. There was no. Was there outrage? Was there outrage? What followed on?
There was an outrage. I was outraged, and I I organized a protest. And me, 100 Sisters, and some of my comrades, we stood outside. And I remember the day because it was snowing outside. It was January 19th, and it was snowing outside. And we were outside. We were protesting. I had a bullhorn. We were handing out flyers, and we were talking to women who were coming in and out of the store. Some women, we were able to deter them and send them to the other beauty supply stores. Because let's be real, like there are a couple of beauty supply stores in the Getty Square area.
Well, there's also a couple of supermarkets.
Just like there's a couple of supermarkets. So we were able to deter a lot of people, but not enough. As far as I'm concerned, it wasn't enough. But, we're responsible for the information, right? That's
Tonia,
what we're responsible for.
What I'm trying to understand here is why is there this subculture of hostility on the part of shop owners to their own customers? How does that come about? How is it tolerated? Is it tolerated? What needs to happen next? And then, just kind of pick that apart as much as you possibly can. Is it respect? Is it respect? Is it race? Is it class? Is it
all of the above?
What's going on?
All of the above. They, that's a lot to unpack because you have to, really talk about racism, and you also have to talk about classism, and then you also have to, there's so many different aspects of that. Like the shop owners, they come in Getty Square, they make a lot of money, but they don't respect the very people that shop in their stores.
So how do people build the tolerance to walk back in?
Because brutality against Black bodies has become a commonplace. Mm-hmm. So it's normalized. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So they don't see any change in the future.
Right.
So people say, people will say, well, it didn't happen to me, right? That happens. You know what I mean? And then it happens to them.
Yeah. Right? I'm just trying to understand, Tonia, how these places can survive. How can they survive? I don't
survive because there aren't very many people like me who will come stand outside, right? They survive because the politicians, I speak frank, the politicians won't stand up for the very people who elect them. That's how they survive, because nobody is fighting for the people. I watch a lot of politicians around election time. They come through and they talk and they shake hands and they kiss babies and they say all of these things that they're going to do. And then once they're in office, it's crickets. Nobody stands up for the little people.
But why doesn't the store? Oh, let me say this also. We did reach out today to the Yonkers City Council, to Council Member Shanae Williams. She committed to respond with some sort of an answer on this topic. I have not heard back yet, but I anticipate that I will. That's what I can say thus far.
Well, good luck.
So I'm asking you, with your community organizer hat on, how do you protest? How do you organize a opposition to what happened in that incident, given that you can't stand 6 feet from another person?
Right. So what happens is that it becomes we have to become very creative. We have to. And that's why I started a boycott. And I made flyers and I posted them on my Facebook page, and everybody's reposting them. We tell people don't shop there. I've asked the community members to tell everyone, like, tell everyone in your neighborhood, tell your friends, tell your aunts, tell your uncles not to shop there. So it's really, really hard. And I want to say that ShopFair, you're really, really lucky that there is a pandemic. Otherwise, I'd be standing out of your store every day. Every day.
Well, your call to action was, I watched your video as well. Your call to action, I'll try to put a link, certainly on Facebook, I'll be able to put a link to that video. But your call to action was to ask people not to shop there anymore. What else? What else is on, the community's list of demands? How else do we get, do we restore or resolve and move on from this?
Well, what I'm saying right now is not to shop there, but moving forward, because this has phases, right? So the first phase is to boycott, right? That's our first phase, is to boycott. The second phase, we're trying to find a creative way to be there physically, and I believe it's going to be a caravan of cars. I think that's what we're going to do next.
Okay.
And then the third phase is, me and a couple of organizers and the people of the community, we're going to come together and see what we want to do, as far as demands. But right now, list of demands is really, to me, really not that important right now, because they need to understand that the community does not stand for this. So the pressure, what they really will feel is the money, the lack of thereof. They won't feel anything else. ShopFair is trying to do a lot of damage control, coming up with things. One of the things they said was, or one of the reasons why, because I asked, why wasn't he fired? The people that were involved in the fight, why weren't they fired? And they said, well, perhaps, not that they were, but perhaps they missed the training. They only have training every 6 months, and now they're going to do every 3 months. No, like, moving forward, I can see implementing every 3 months, having training, sensitivity training, like, you know what I mean? Like that kind of training. I can see that moving forward. But right now, they don't even want to hold them accountable. So what that tells me is that ShopFair is just trying to schmooze their way through this, get us to say, okay, well, at least they're doing something. Absolutely not, because this is not an isolated incident. This happened in February, where they dragged the young lady because they suspected her of stealing. They dragged her from the aisle to the front of the store, ripping her coat, feathers everywhere. This is the culture of this store. So you can't come up with list of demands when you won't even address what happened. And addressing what happened is firing your workers. Show the community that you're going to do something. Show the community that you mean business. Fire them. But you don't even want to do that. So and they're coming up with a whole bunch of excuses, even after the store owner is caught on the video too.
I want to know more about that community that you keep referring to, the community and the relationship between the community and the shop owners over there. So
there is no relationship between the community and the shop owners. Like, I just want to say that. There is no relationship. They are their business in the middle of the community, the middle of Getty Square, and they don't have any kind of relationship with the community, because had they had one, they would have acted differently. It's a pandemic. It's a pandemic.
Right. So that block is right off of Nepperhan. It is, it is a couple of blocks from Yonkers City Hall. It is
across the street.
It is not in close proximity to the luxury housing along the riverfront. So give me the demographics. Who's shopping there? You're shopping there. You may not have a car, right? Probably don't own a car.
Right.
It's a local on foot place that's in proximity of where people live. And, I'm just trying to understand if there's a gentrification story here, if there's another layer that we need. Tell me what that's about.
Big time gentrification story. If you ever go to the waterfront, you will see it. The buildings are coming up out of nowhere. Like, I walk through the square one day and they're starting a building. The next time I walk through, there's another building started.
Right.
The rent is sky high. No
Right.
one in Yonkers can afford the regular people. I'm talking
Right.
about the regular working people, people who have two jobs, the
Right.
low income families. Like, they can't live there. So it feels as though they're pushing us out, right? The regular
So,
people are being pushed
right.
out.
Right.
So gentrification is coming. It's coming from, started at the waterfront to Warburton Avenue to Getty Square. Like,
Right.
the shelter's not even there anymore. So it's like they're pushing us out. That's what gentrification does. They come in, they take over, they make it so nobody, regular people, low income people, poor people can't live there.
Right.
So we get pushed out.
There has to be a story there because, again, I am no expert on crime,
And
but if you're shoplifting for food, that's hunger. That's real hunger,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
So there's what I'm saying is there's a backdrop of underlying social issues in this story. There's a backdrop of
definitely.
there's a backdrop of gentrification in this story. There's a community response issue that I think is
Yeah.
bubbling because here we are, 8-9 days later. I'm not aware. I haven't seen it. I looked yesterday. I haven't seen that there's been an official response. So what else?
Official response from who?
From City Hall.
Oh, yeah, no.
Yeah.
But that's normal.
Right.
That's normal. It's like they hide.
Right.
Nobody speaks to this. So it's, the community doesn't ever believe that there will be a change. I don't know how many times I'm going to say that, but they don't think it's going to be a change. So it's hard. It's really hard. But I'm organizing it, and I'm not going to stop. And I'm just going to be the voice until, if it wasn't a pandemic, this be a bigger story.
Well, let's talk about that pandemic story because that's another angle on this thing. Because on the one hand, the pandemic is such a huge media story that it eclipses everything in its path.
Yes, it
but
does.
on the other hand, and I want to hear what you think of this theory, I have a theory that the pandemic in some way contributes to the reason why this happened in the first place. Okay? That guy was shoplifting because he was hungry.
Right.
I'm making that basic assumption. You don't take a bag of shrimp for fun.
Right.
Right? You're probably not going to resell a bag of shrimp.
Right.
But if you're hungry, you might steal food. And that's,
Yes.
to me, one of the saddest things. That's probably one of the saddest points a human can be at if you have to steal food because you're hungry. So people are out of work. People don't have jobs. There's all kinds of reasons why they have no money. And under these unusual circumstances of the pandemic, it's all worse. I mean, I think you can confirm that from, various angles in what you do for a living and so forth. So I think the pandemic is a part of the story. It's a part of the story.
A big part.
And it's going to be a part of how you unravel it.
Hopefully everybody is getting that. We don't need to shop there. They don't respect our community. They don't respect our dollars. So they shouldn't get them. Please don't shop there. Go to ShopRite. Down the street, around the corner, there's another supermarket on Linden and Elm Street. I think it's Food Town or Sea Town. There's plenty other supermarkets you can go to, and I believe that ShopFair will only feel it if they start to lose money. They won't feel it any other way because I just think they're doing damage control. I just think that's what they're doing now. They're talking about what they should have been doing all along. Like, they should have had the store of that magnitude should have had a loss prevention, even if it was 2 guys. They should have had that. So somebody trained to know what to do when things like that happen. And during a pandemic and the way that the COVID-19 is sweeping through the jails and the prisons and things, you would want to send someone there because you will surely die because the medical is like at an all-time low. Like they're not being treated fairly there either. People are dying everywhere, and that's what you come up with. The culture of the store has no respect for our community. You've been in our community for 3 years. Where's your donations to the homeless shelters? Where's your ShopRite? ShopRite has a campaign where the customers give $1 to feeding the hungry. Like, where's that at? Where's your connection to the community? ShopRite has a connection to the community. They have no connection to the community.
How did ShopRite establish that connection? Is it by who they hire? Is it how do they do it?
Yonkers for, oh my God, my son is 34. They've been in Yonkers 30 plus years. So they established a rapport. They hired people right out of the community. And I'm not, people of color are people of color, but they hired a lot of Black people in the community.
Yep.
Right? So that's a plus. They gave kids jobs. They gave their moms jobs. Like, they I don't know, they just have their heart is in the right place.
Right.
And they understand that they're coming into a community where people are struggling.
And I'm sure, Tonya, at some point, shoplifting happens at ShopRite too, but they figured out a way to deal with it.
Right. But they have a loss prevention.
Right. And they figured out a way to deal with it without beating people up.
Exactly.
Right.
They have a loss prevention. And ShopFair is not just a mom and pop store.
Right.
So they should have one too.
Yeah.
But,
hey, thank you for taking a little time to talk to me today.
Sure, no problem. Thank you.